It was a quiet, peaceful night on Earth. The stars twinkled above, and the only sounds were the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant hum of city life. In a small rural town, 12-year-old Lucas was fast asleep in his bed, unaware of the horror that was about to unfold. His family had lived a simple, happy life in this small corner of Earth, far from the troubles of the galaxy. Little did they know, that peaceful night would soon be shattered forever. Without warning, the silence was broken by an eerie hum in the sky. The night air seemed to grow colder, and the ground vibrated slightly, as if something massive was hovering just above. The people of the town were still oblivious, their houses nestled in the darkness. But then, out of nowhere, a massive ship appeared in the sky, cloaked in advanced technology that made it invisible to the naked eye. Only the faint shimmer of distortion in the air revealed its presence. It was a warship of the Galactic Empire, and it had come to take Lucas. The Empire's ships were designed for stealth. They used cloaking devices that rendered them invisible, allowing them to strike without warning. The ship hovered silently above the town, its engines almost silent. Its hull gleamed in the night sky as it lowered, and a series of doors opened, revealing hundreds of soldiers armed with high-tech weapons. The people of the town never saw it coming. In an instant, the Empire's forces descended. The soldiers moved swiftly and efficiently, raiding the homes with military precision. They ignored the cries and screams of the townspeople, focused only on their mission. Their target, Lucas. The soldiers had no interest in the adults or the other children. It was Lucas, the human child, that they needed. Inside Lucas's house, his mother woke with a start, hearing a loud crash from outside. She rushed to the window just in time to see a bright light flash in the sky. The ship had landed, and the Empire's forces were coming. Panic flooded her heart. She turned to her son, but it was too late. Soldiers burst into the room, their weapons raised, as they grabbed Lucas from his bed. His mother screamed in terror, trying to reach him, but the soldiers were too strong. "Mom!" Lucas cried out, reaching for her, but it was no use. The soldiers pulled him away, dragging him towards the ship. His mother's screams echoed in the night, a sound of helplessness and fear. She reached for him one last time, but the door slammed shut as the ship began to ascend. The last thing she saw was the dark sky swallowing her son, her world crumbling in an instant. The ship disappeared into the stars, leaving nothing behind but the haunting sounds of the mother's cries and the quiet of the empty town. Earth had just lost one of its own, and the Galactic Empire had gained a new asset. Inside the warship, the Galactic Empire's generals were already discussing their prize. They had no idea how much of a mistake they had made. "This child will be useful," one of the generals said, his voice cold and calculating. "The humans don't know it yet, but they'll soon learn how valuable he is to our cause." They had taken Lucas for their own twisted purposes, thinking him to be just another helpless human. What they didn't realize was that the kidnapping of a single child would set off a chain of events that would shake the galaxy to its core. As the warship traveled through space, the Empire's leaders discussed their plans for Lucas. They would use him as a tool, a pawn in their grand scheme to further their control over the galaxy. He would be used to manipulate other races, to break their spirits and force them into submission. But the generals underestimated one thing: humanity. Back on Earth, the abduction did not go unnoticed. The moment the news reached Earth's government, the response was immediate. The intelligence community worked quickly to piece together what had happened. The Empire's warship had cloaked itself, making it impossible to track by traditional means. But the humans were not helpless. A hidden faction within Earth's military, aware of the alien threat and the growing tensions in the galaxy, began preparing for what was to come. The message was clear: Earth would not stand by while its children were taken. The Empire's actions had awakened something in humanity that they could never have predicted: anger, resolve, and a fierce desire to protect their own. In the government's underground command center, a high-ranking officer looked at the assembled team of experts. "This is no longer a simple abduction," the officer said grimly. "This is an act of war. The Galactic Empire has just made its biggest mistake." Across the globe, a message was sent. It was brief, but powerful. Prepare for war. The leaders of Earth knew that they had to act fast if they were to stand a chance. The Empire's advanced technology, with its cloaking devices, AI systems, and vast military forces, seemed overwhelming. But Earth had one advantage that the Empire could never account for: the human spirit. While the governments of Earth scrambled to organize their response, an underground faction of military leaders and scientists, long preparing for such a moment, began assembling a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These were the best of Earth's forces, highly trained soldiers, advanced technology, and the resilience that had carried humanity through countless challenges. They would wage war against the Empire, and they would do it on their own terms. In secret bunkers, high-tech warships were constructed, cloaking devices were tested, and artificial intelligence systems were integrated into the fleet. Everything was designed to be faster, stronger, and more unpredictable than anything the Empire could have imagined. Earth was no longer the underdog. It was preparing to strike back. As the countdown began, tensions rose. The Empire thought they were untouchable, invincible, but they had made a fatal error. The human spirit, though humble and underestimated by many, was not something to be trifled with. The stage was set for an epic clash between Earth and the Galactic Empire, a battle that would not only decide the fate of a single child, but would determine the future of the galaxy. The Empire had taken Lucas, but they had no idea what they had truly unleashed. The countdown continued. Earth's forces were ready, and the first steps toward a galactic confrontation were now inevitable. The stage was set, and the Empire would soon learn that the human race was not to be underestimated. The war for Lucas had just begun, and Earth's message was clear: we will not back down. The silence of space was broken only by the hum of Earth's secret fleet as it prepared for a battle that would change everything. It was a battle unlike any humanity had ever fought before. The Galactic Empire had shown its power, kidnapping Lucas, a child from Earth, and triggering a war that would soon engulf the galaxy. But Earth's forces, though outmatched in terms of technology, were determined to fight back. They had no choice. For months, Earth's most brilliant minds worked tirelessly to create advanced cloaking devices and AI systems capable of tracking the Empire's every move. These pieces of technology were humanity's secret weapons, crafted in the shadows and hidden from the world. Now, the time had come to use them. Earth's fleet was ready for its first intergalactic operation, an operation that would take them deep into enemy space. In a secret underground bunker, Captain Bonner stood before a massive holographic map of the galaxy. The map displayed the known locations of the Galactic Empire's ships, their movements tracked by Earth's AI systems. The technology was sophisticated, but the task ahead was daunting. They had to find the warship that had taken Lucas, infiltrate it, and destroy it before the Empire even realized what was happening. Bonner knew the odds were slim. The Galactic Empire's ships were colossal, their firepower unmatched. The warships were protected by fleets of AI-controlled fighters, cloaking devices that made them nearly invisible, and robotic soldiers that would crush anything in their path. Yet Captain Bonner and his team of elite soldiers were ready to face all of it. "This is a suicide mission," Bonner said, addressing his team. His voice was steady, but there was a heaviness in it. "We're going into the heart of enemy territory. No one expects us to survive. But we're doing this for one reason: to bring Lucas home. We fight, not because we think we can win, but because we can't stand by and do nothing." His team, a group of battle-hardened soldiers, nodded grimly. They had all faced the horrors of war, but this was different. This mission wasn't just about fighting for survival. It was about something deeper. It was about protecting their world, their families, and the future. It was about rescuing an innocent child from the clutches of a ruthless empire. Bonner turned to face the map once again, his hand hovering over the holographic display. The target was clear, the Galactic Empire's warship. It was a massive, looming structure that appeared like a floating city. Its power was beyond anything Earth had ever seen, but Bonner knew it had to be destroyed. If they didn't succeed, the Empire would only grow stronger, and no one on Earth would be safe. "Let's go," Bonner said with resolve. "It's time to bring this war to them." As Bonner and his team prepared for battle, they each had one final moment with their families. In the quiet of the command center, they made quick, emotional calls to their loved ones. It was a reminder of what they were fighting for, and it was a moment they knew they might never get again. "I love you, Sarah," Bonner said to his wife over the comms. His voice cracked slightly, but he steadied himself. "I'll be back. I promise." His wife's face appeared on the screen, her eyes filled with worry. "Come back safe, John," she whispered. "I don't know what I'll do without you." One by one, the other soldiers exchanged heartfelt words with their families, each knowing the weight of the mission ahead. For some, it was a promise to their children. For others, a last goodbye. They were soldiers, trained to fight, but they were also human. And in this moment, they were reminded of the cost of war. Outside, the stars seemed to grow brighter, as if they too were aware of the coming battle. The stealth fleet, now cloaked and invisible to the Empire's sensors, moved silently through space. The cloaking technology was designed to make the ships undetectable, but it also drained their power reserves. They had a limited amount of time before they were forced to make their move. As the fleet neared the Empire's territory, the tension on board was palpable. The soldiers sat in silence, their faces illuminated only by the soft glow of the control panels. Their weapons were loaded, and their suits were powered up. They had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could truly prepare them for what lay ahead. Bonner stood at the front of the command ship, his eyes scanning the stars. He had been in countless battles before, but this one felt different. There was something about the fate of Earth resting on their shoulders that made this fight feel like the most important of all. "We've got one shot at this," Bonner said, his voice low but firm. "Once we engage, there's no turning back." The ship's AI systems beeped, signaling that they were approaching the enemy's space. The warship was still cloaked, but the fleet's cloaking technology was powerful enough to detect even the slightest distortion in the enemy's field. Slowly, the AI pinpointed the warship's location, and the team prepared for action. "Brace yourselves," Bonner commanded. "We'll drop the cloak in 3, 2, 1. With a sudden flash, the fleet's cloaking devices were deactivated. The ships appeared in real space, the vastness of space stretching out around them. The massive Empire warship loomed ahead, its dark silhouette barely visible in the distance. The enemy had not noticed them yet, but it was only a matter of time before they did. The team moved quickly, deploying their assault vehicles and making their final approach to the warship. Inside the command ship, Bonner's heart raced. They had trained for this, but facing the reality of the mission was different. They were about to storm an enemy ship that outmatched them in every way, and yet they were determined to succeed. They were the underdogs, fighting for the future of Earth. "Steady," Bonner whispered to himself. "This is for Earth, for Lucas." The team made their approach, knowing the stakes. They had no illusions about the difficulty of the mission, but they also knew they couldn't back down. The weight of the mission, the fate of Lucas, and the survival of their world were all on the line. As the fleet neared the warship, the first shots were fired. The Empire's defenses began to wake up, and the battle for Earth had begun. The clash was brutal and unrelenting, a true test of humanity's resolve. But even as the odds stacked against them, the soldiers pushed forward, driven by the belief that they could still make a difference. They were underdogs, yes, but they were human, and that meant something more. The cold metal walls of the Empire's warship echoed with the sound of footsteps as Lucas, the young human captive, was dragged through the dark corridors. His mind was spinning. How had his life come to this? One moment, he was playing outside his house, and the next, he was aboard this monstrous alien ship, a prisoner of a ruthless empire. The fear and confusion were overwhelming, but deep down, Lucas knew one thing: he had to survive. As Lucas was thrown into a small, dimly lit cell, he noticed the other prisoners. They were from various alien races, all chained and shackled, their eyes hollow and defeated. Lucas, still a child but wiser than his years, looked around cautiously. He had heard stories about the Galactic Empire, the most powerful force in the universe, enslaving weaker civilizations. But hearing about it was one thing, witnessing it was another. He was shoved into a corner of the cell, and as the door clanged shut behind him, he looked up at the faces of his fellow prisoners. There was fear in their eyes, but there was something else too: defiance. A tall, blue-skinned alien with sharp, angular features approached Lucas cautiously. "You're the human," the alien said in a low voice, the words tinted with bitterness. "They took you from Earth. You're their newest asset." Lucas nodded, trying to make sense of the situation. "What do they want with me?" "They want to break you," the alien said, shaking his head. "But they won't succeed. None of us were broken, and neither will you be." Lucas was puzzled. "What do you mean? Who are you?" "I'm Torka," the alien replied. "I'm a prisoner of the Empire, just like you. We've all been enslaved by them. We work in their mines, their factories, and their warships. We're their tools, their slaves. But we're not their property." The words hit Lucas like a slap. The Galactic Empire wasn't just a group of invaders. They were oppressors, ruling over countless races with an iron fist. Lucas looked around at the other prisoners, seeing the same anger, the same desire for freedom in their eyes. It wasn't just his survival that mattered now. He was part of something much bigger. Torka continued, "I know who you are, human. The Empire has been watching Earth for years. They know your people are powerful, but they also know you're easy to control. The moment they capture a human, they use you to break other species. But we will make sure they fail." Lucas felt a spark of hope ignite within him. He wasn't alone. He wasn't just some helpless child. He was a part of something important, something that could change the course of this entire war. The prisoners weren't giving up, and neither would he. As the hours passed, Lucas began to bond with the other prisoners. There was an alien, a small reptilian creature named Jix, who had been in captivity for longer than Lucas could imagine. Jix had seen the horrors of the Empire firsthand and had lost many friends to the brutal treatment they received. He had scars, both physical and emotional, that told the story of a life spent in suffering. But Jix wasn't broken. He was a fighter. Jix leaned close to Lucas and whispered, "The Empire wants to use you to break your people, to make you feel helpless. But we can use that against them. We can escape, all of us." Lucas's heart raced. Escape? How? "We're trapped in this place." "We're not trapped," Jake said, his eyes gleaming with a fierce determination. "We're just waiting for the right moment. You see, the Empire is powerful, but they're also arrogant. They think they can control us because they have technology, weapons, and numbers, but they underestimate us. We've been planning, gathering information, and waiting for the moment when we strike back." As Torka and Jix shared their plans with Lucas, he felt a sense of purpose swell within him. This wasn't just about escaping. This was about a rebellion, a revolution that could overthrow the Galactic Empire's tyranny and free countless species from its grip. Lucas wasn't just a prisoner anymore. He was part of a movement, and that movement was going to change the galaxy. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the stakes were just as high. Captain Bonner and his elite force of soldiers were preparing for the most dangerous part of their mission. They had found the location of the Empire's heavily guarded space station, a fortress in the middle of enemy territory. This was the final step before they could launch a full-scale assault on the warship that had taken Lucas. But the space station was no ordinary installation. It was equipped with the latest technology, including cloaking systems and powerful shields that would make any assault incredibly difficult. Bonner and his team were aboard their cloaked ships, hidden in the vastness of space. The AI systems that controlled their fleet were working in overdrive, tracking the Empire's movements and anticipating every possible countermeasure. Earth's forces were still outnumbered, still outclassed in terms of raw power. But the human spirit was unstoppable. They had the heart to fight against overwhelming odds. As Bonner surveyed the space station through the fleet's AI systems, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The plan was risky. They would have to strike fast, using their cloaked ships to infiltrate the space station and sabotage its defenses. It was a high-speed assault, one that could go wrong at any moment. "Ready?" Bonner's voice crackled through the comms. "Ready," his team responded in unison. The countdown began. Bonner's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the clock tick down. They had one chance to make this work. If they failed, it would be the end of everything. The fleet burst out of their cloaking, charging toward the space station at breakneck speed. The station's defenses immediately detected the breach, and laser fire erupted from every direction. The human ships dodged and weaved, using their superior maneuverability to evade the attacks. But the odds were still stacked against them. The space station's cannons were massive, and the Empire's ships were closing in fast. "We can't take much more of this," Bonner said through clenched teeth. "Push forward." The ships tore through the defensive fire, coming closer to the space station's heart. The action was intense, the stakes higher than ever. The fate of Earth and the countless other races oppressed by the Empire hung in the balance. Back on the warship, Lucas felt the vibrations of the battle in the very walls of the ship. He knew that the humans were coming. His heart surged with hope. The rebellion was already starting to grow within him, and he was determined to fight for the freedom of his people and all those who had been oppressed by the Empire. The final battle was about to begin. The humans were closing in, and the Empire was about to face the consequences of underestimating the will of those they had enslaved. But the question remained, would they succeed, or would they fall to the might of the Empire? The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the outcome was uncertain. The only thing that was certain was that the fight for freedom had only just begun. Captain Bonner stood at the helm of the cloaked ship, his fingers tightly gripping the controls. His elite team of soldiers, handpicked for this mission, was ready. The countdown clock ticked in the corner of his vision. Time was running out. Their mission: infiltrate the Galactic Empire's warship, rescue the abducted child Lucas, and escape without being detected. A tall order, but they were ready. Bonner had led teams into battle countless times, but this was different. This wasn't just another mission. It was personal. This was about Earth, about the future, and about defying an empire that had terrorized the galaxy for too long. "Prepare for entry," Bonner ordered, his voice steady despite the nervous energy in the ship. "Everyone, stay sharp. This will be our hardest fight yet." The cloaked ship drifted silently through the black void of space. The Empire's warship loomed ahead, massive and imposing, its sleek, metallic hull reflecting the distant starlight. It was a fortress, protected by the most advanced defenses known to any species. But the humans had their own tricks up their sleeves. Their cloaking technology made them nearly invisible, and their eye-controlled systems gave them an edge in the battlefield. But even with all their advantages, they were still the underdogs. The Empire was far more powerful, with its army of robots and automated defense systems. They were going up against an enemy that had the technology to crush them in an instant. As the team prepared to infiltrate, Bonner felt a weight settle in his chest. This wasn't just about fighting the Empire. This was about protecting their future. He thought about his family back home, his wife and children. He had promised them he would return, but deep down, he knew the chances of that happening were slim. But the mission came first. He couldn't let anything get in the way. The ship descended, getting closer to the warship's hull. Bonner and his team suited up, their bodies covered in high-tech armor, each piece designed for stealth and combat. Their cloaking devices would keep them hidden as they navigated through the ship's defenses, but that didn't mean they were safe. Once they'd breached the warship, the real danger would begin. They had no idea what to expect, but they had to succeed. "Move out," Bonner commanded as he led the way. The doors of the ship hissed open, and the team stepped onto the surface of the warship, their feet making no sound as they moved through the shadows. The air inside the warship was cold, and the hum of the ship's machinery echoed through the corridors. The team moved with precision, their cloaking devices rendering them invisible to the ship's sensors. Bonner's heart raced as they advanced deeper into the ship. They had no idea what kind of resistance they would face, but the longer they stayed hidden, the greater the chances they would succeed. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed down the hallway. Bonner raised his hand, signaling the team to stop. Earth's fleet, a vast array of advanced warships, was already in position, waiting for the signal. The humans had prepared for this moment for years. The Galactic Empire had underestimated them, but now, the Empire would learn the true power of a united Earth. Bonner's team had managed to locate Lucas, but with the alarms blaring and the Empire's forces closing in, there was no time to waste. They had to act fast before the warship's defenses were fully restored. As they fought their way through the corridors, each step felt like a countdown to disaster. The tension was palpable. Bonner's heart raced as the sounds of combat echoed through the ship. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was just as tense. The massive fleet, hidden behind the moon's shadow, was prepared for orbital bombardment. Hundreds of warships, armed with plasma cannons and laser beams, locked onto the Empire's warship. Their eye-controlled drones moved swiftly, scanning the enemy ship for weak points, while human soldiers watched, waiting for the right moment to strike. The signal came, and in an instant, Earth's fleet launched a devastating attack. From space, the view of the Empire's warship was nothing short of breathtaking. It was a massive, imposing vessel, with sleek metallic surfaces and heavily fortified armor, but nothing could prepare it for what was coming. The sky above the warship darkened as Earth's warships unleashed a torrent of firepower. Plasma cannons shot out beams of bright energy, slamming into the warship's shields. The first impact was so powerful that the ship seemed to shudder, its outer layers cracking under the intensity of the blast. Then came the laser beams, slicing through the darkness like deadly lasers. The massive ship was engulfed in a series of explosions, fire and smoke billowing out from every side. Sparks flew into the blackness of space as Earth's firepower tore into the Empire's defenses. Inside the warship, the crew scrambled to regain control. The ship's systems flickered, and the eye-controlled defenses tried to fight back. But it was too late. Earth's fleet had unleashed their fury, and there was no stopping them now. On the ground, Bonner and his team pushed forward, the alarms echoing in their ears as they made their way toward the warship's core. The walls shook with the impact of the orbital bombardment above them. The air was thick with smoke, and the flashing lights of battle created a chaotic, disorienting atmosphere. But they pressed on. They had come this far, and they weren't about to back down now. Bonner's mind raced as they reached the warship's central chamber. The ship's AI systems were scrambling to protect itself, but Lucas, now reunited with the team, had an unexpected role to play. He wasn't just the child they had rescued anymore. The experiences he had endured, the terror and the betrayal, had made him stronger. And now he had become the key to their success. "You've got this, Lucas," Bonner said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "We're counting on you." Lucas nodded, his eyes filled with determination. The young boy had been through so much. But in that moment, he felt a sense of purpose. He wasn't just a prisoner anymore. He was a symbol of Earth's fight for survival. The Empire had underestimated them all, and now they were about to pay the price. The team moved quickly, setting explosives and targeting the ship's core systems. The eye-controlled robots and drones tried to stop them, But the humans fought back with everything they had. The air was filled with gunfire, the sound of metal clashing against metal. Bonner's team pushed forward, determined to finish what they had started. As they reached the central core, Bonner took a deep breath. The ship's eye was formidable, but with Lucas's knowledge of the ship's systems, they had a chance. Lucas worked quickly, hacking into the warship's control system. The tension in the room was unbearable as they watched the countdown. With each passing second, the possibility of failure grew, but they didn't stop. They couldn't. Finally, with a burst of energy, Lucas entered the final command. "Now," Bonner shouted. A pair of robotic sentries turned the corner, their red eyes scanning the dark hallway. The robots were armed and dangerous, their metallic bodies almost indestructible. They were the first line of defense, designed to protect the warship from intruders. Bonner motioned for his team to stay still, his breath held in his chest. The robots paused, scanning the area with their advanced sensors. For a moment, it seemed like they might detect the team. But then, just as quickly as they had come, the robots turned and walked away, their heavy footsteps fading into the distance. The team exhaled in relief, but Bonner knew this was just the beginning. There would be more patrols, more traps, and more danger ahead. They couldn't afford to slip up. They continued moving, using every shadow to their advantage, every corner to hide. The warship's design was labyrinthine, and every hallway seemed to lead to another dead end. But Bonner's team had trained for this. They knew how to navigate hostile terrain, how to strike fast and hard before the enemy had a chance to react. They had to reach Lucas, and they had to do it quickly. As they approached the heart of the warship, Bonner's team encountered more resistance. The ship's eye-controlled defenses were sophisticated, with drones, automated turrets, and robotic soldiers patrolling the corridors. The team's cloaking devices kept them hidden, but the tension was building. Each step brought them closer to their goal, but it also brought them closer to discovery. Then, without warning, the alarm blared. Red lights flashed, and the sound of robotic footsteps echoed throughout the ship. They had been detected. "Move, move, move," Bonner shouted, pushing his team into action. The element of surprise was gone, and now they had to fight their way through. The first wave of enemy forces arrived, armed drones and robots that seemed to materialize out of thin air. They opened fire without hesitation, their energy weapons charging up in an instant. Bonner's team returned fire, their weapons glowing with a deadly light as they shot back at the oncoming assault. The robots were relentless, and their firepower was overwhelming. Bonner's team was outgunned, but they weren't outmatched. The humans fought with everything they had. They ducked behind walls, fired with precision, and used their environment to their advantage. Bonner's mind raced as he calculated every move. His team was skilled, but even they couldn't hold off an army of eye-controlled robots forever. They had to find Lucas, and fast. As they pushed forward, one of Bonner's closest allies, Sergeant Darnell, was hit by a laser blast. He fell to the ground with a grunt, his body twitching in pain. Bonner's heart sank. Darnell was a trusted member of the team, a friend. But there was no time to mourn. Bonner gritted his teeth and ordered the team to continue the mission. "Darnell, stay with me," Bonner shouted, but Darnell's response was weak. He was struggling to hold on. The rest of the team moved forward, their minds focused on the mission. Every second counted. They couldn't afford to lose anyone else. But as they reached the prison block where Lucas was being held, Bonner felt a heavy weight in his chest. Darnell's blood was on his hands now. If they didn't succeed, his death would be in vain. Finally, they reached the cell where Lucas was being held. The young boy was chained to the wall, looking weak and terrified. His eyes widened when he saw Bonner and his team, and for the first time since his capture, a spark of hope lit up in his eyes. "Lucas," Bonner said, rushing forward, "we're here to get you out." But before Bonner could unlock the chains, the alarms blared again, signaling a full-scale attack. The battle was about to reach its peak, and the team had to move fast. The Empire's forces were closing in, and the escape route was compromised. The tension was unbearable, but there was no turning back. They had to finish what they had started. The first strike had been made, but the war was far from over. With Lucas rescued, Bonner and his team had made their mark on the Empire. But the real battle was just beginning. The consequences of this mission would echo throughout the galaxy. The Empire had made a grave mistake by underestimating humanity, and now they were about to feel the full force of Earth's retaliation. The moment the alarm blared across the Empire's warship, it was clear that the humans were not going down without a fight. Captain Bonner, Lucas, and the rest of the rescue team had just barely managed to escape the prison cells, but the battle had only just begun. They had broken into the heart of the warship, freed the young child, and caused massive chaos. But now, the true fury of Earth would be unleashed. The entire warship seemed to groan as the AI systems began to falter. The once imposing defenses began to glitch, and the massive ship's control systems went dark. The ship's massive guns powered down, and the robotic soldiers froze in place. The Empire's last line of defense had crumbled. Above them, Earth's warships moved in, their final blow ready. They had waited for this moment, and now they would see it through. With the warship's defenses disabled, the remaining fleet launched their final attack. Massive plasma beams tore into the heart of the Empire's warship, creating a series of explosions that rocked the ship to its core. Bonner and his team watched as the ship began to break apart. The sight was surreal. Massive chunks of metal and debris scattered through space as the once powerful warship was torn apart by the might of Earth's fury. The Empire had overestimated their own power, and now they were paying the price. But even as the warship was destroyed, Bonner knew that the battle was far from over. This was just the beginning. The Galactic Empire was powerful, but Earth had proven that it could fight back. And as the wreckage of the warship floated in space, the humans knew that they had made their mark on history. The Empire's reign of terror had come to an end, and a new chapter in the galaxy had begun. Earth's fury had been unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The once mighty Galactic Empire, now defeated and broken, was retreating in shame. The victory on Earth was unlike anything they had ever expected. Despite their vast technological superiority, the humans had triumphed. Their advanced eye-controlled warships, robots, and vast fleets had been no match for the resilience of the human spirit. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The Galactic Empire had long viewed itself as the supreme force in the universe. They believed that their advanced technology, their ruthless AI systems, and their well-trained soldiers would crush any resistance they encountered. But they had never encountered humanity before. The humans had faced their challenges. And yet, time and again, they had proven themselves capable of overcoming the impossible. And now, after a hard-fought battle, the Empire realized they could not break the human will. As Earth's warships gathered in space, their victory secure, the Empire's forces began to retreat. Their once imposing warships limped away, their armor scarred, their weapons disabled, their AI systems failing. The defeat was a humiliating blow to the Empire, one that would be talked about for centuries to come. The Galactic Empire had fallen, not because they lacked the technology or the firepower, but because they underestimated what the humans were capable of. The classic battle between good and evil had played out in full force. The ruthless, heartless Empire had tried to crush humanity, but in the end, it was humanity's compassion, resilience, and unity that had triumphed. On Earth, celebrations were already beginning. The battle was over, and the Empire had been defeated. The people of Earth, though exhausted, were filled with pride. They had faced an enemy far more powerful than themselves, and had emerged victorious. The victory belonged to every man, woman, and child who had stood against the Empire, and the heroes who had fought in the final battle were hailed as legends. Among the most emotional reunions was the one between Lucas and his family. The young boy, who had been taken from his home by the Empire, was finally back where he belonged. His mother, who had never stopped believing in his return, was overjoyed. The tearful embrace between them was a poignant reminder of why the humans had fought. It was for the families, the loved ones, the lives that mattered. The victory was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about reclaiming what had been taken. But while the humans celebrated their victory, there was no denying the price that had been paid. The soldiers who had fought bravely on the front lines knew that their victory came with great loss. Captain Bonner, the leader of the elite team that had infiltrated the Empire's warship, was changed by the experience. He had led his team through impossible odds, and though they had succeeded, it had come at a high cost. His team had suffered casualties, and some of his closest allies were gone forever. The weight of their sacrifice weighed heavily on his heart, and though the victory was sweet, the pain of losing his comrades was something he would carry with him forever. As Bonner stood before the nation, addressing the world, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. The battle had been long, and the odds had been against them, but they had succeeded because they had never given up. The human spirit was something the Empire had never understood, and now they would never forget it. "This is our message to the galaxy," Bonner said, his voice steady and strong. "Never underestimate humanity. We may not have the most advanced technology, but we have something stronger: the will to fight, to survive, and to protect those we love. The Empire may have been powerful, but they could never break us. And to anyone who thinks they can defeat us, remember what happened here today." His words resonated across the world and beyond. Earth had sent a powerful message to the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had learned a hard lesson. No matter how advanced their technology was, no matter how ruthless their AI systems were, they could never crush the spirit of humanity. The humans had shown that, when pushed to the brink, they would rise up, fight back, and protect their world at all costs. As Bonner finished his speech, the camera zoomed out to reveal Earth's fleet preparing for future battles. The victory was monumental, but the war was far from over. The Empire, though retreating now, was not finished. They would regroup, rebuild, and come for Earth again. But the humans were ready. Earth's fleet, though battered, had proven its strength, and its resolve was unshakable. The Galactic Empire might have powerful weapons and AI, but humanity had something far stronger: determination and the will to fight for their future. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth began to rebuild. The people mourned their lost soldiers, but they also celebrated their victory. The war with the Galactic Empire had changed them, but it had also united them in ways they had never imagined. Nations that once fought amongst themselves now stood together, united against a common enemy. The defeat of the Empire had shown them what they were capable of when they worked together, and they vowed never to forget the lessons they had learned. Lucas, now safe with his family, became a symbol of the victory. His bravery, along with the bravery of the soldiers who had fought to rescue him, would be remembered for generations. Earth had faced an overwhelming enemy and had won. But the victory was not just about defeating the Empire. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity would never back down. No matter what the future held, Earth would always be ready to fight. The final image of the story was one of hope and determination. Earth's fleet, ready for whatever the Empire or any other force in the galaxy might throw at them, stood poised for the future. They had sent a clear message: the humans of Earth would not be defeated. They were ready for anything, and they would never stop fighting to protect their world, their people, and their way of life. As the camera panned across the fleet, with ships shining brightly against the backdrop of space, the message was clear. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. And Earth would always be ready to face whatever came next. The Empire had retreated, but they would always remember the day they learned that humanity was not to be underestimated.